Welcome to the Boomcast. Today is a special day because I'm going to be talking to Hollywood legend Kathy Garver and stand-up comedian extraordinaire Ziggy Klett. I hope you enjoy listening in as much as I did chatting with these two very talented individuals. When we first discussed this show, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? It's really about the things that I enjoyed when I was younger. When I was a child, I loved coming home from school and turning on the TV. And that's what I would do for the afternoon and share the lives of all of these people on these amazing sitcoms and, TV movies and all these things on television at that time. It just seemed like I think the word wholesome is probably overused to describe that era, but I can't help it. I mean, that's the way I feel about it.
And I think it's very comforting. My co-author on Ex-Child Stars, Where Are They Now? Fred Asher, deemed himself a latchkey kid. And that was the time in the era when women were going out and they were working along with the men. And so they were gone and they would give their child a key after school and they would let themselves in. And that was their television babysitter. And I think that many of the people that grew up in that era have that feeling and have that camaraderie of the people that they saw on TV and that they still take them to heart. Like Family Affair was so enduring. I hate to say this, John, but it is the 55th anniversary of Family Affair in 2021. We started 55 years ago. I know that is really hard to believe since we've known each other a long time, and I'm 39. Isn't that right?
It's
John?
Funny. I'm not great with math, but I'm sure you're right.
Yes.
Right. I have a hard time with numbers.
And this is why John and I have remained friends for so long. But another thing to realize that during the late 50s, early 60s, when finally shows were going into color, there were only three stations, really. There was CBS, NBC, and ABC. So everybody in the United States, the nation, watched on those particular stations. And in a way, it's the golden age and the golden era of TV, just like they have the golden age of movies, because everybody knows those shows. Now we have 950 channels, and I still can't figure out how to use the streaming thing and this platform and that platform. So I'm still stuck with CBS, ABC, and NBC.
Well, you're absolutely correct about this because not only do we not have a commonality among us because everyone did watch the same shows. These days, things are so fractured. Some people would say it's a good thing because you actually can find something geared toward your particular taste, which is great. I'm not discounting that. But we did lose our commonality where we could walk up to anyone on the street and say, hey, did you see the, Family Affair last night? And
that's that is a very good point. And I haven't thought of it that way, but it is fractionalized, even though you're not too good at math. I know that there are fractions that are around and marginalized in some way. And it's interesting, the genesis, the way that I understand it, how so many of the shows broke away from the rules and regulations, the FCC or FFC, one of those, that was dictating what the rules and the regulations were and what words you could use and how you might have to fog out someone's face or, the hack with I Dream of Genius, you couldn't show belly buttons. And so there were some movie makers or television makers say, hey, you know what, we want to push the boundaries somewhat. And so we want to say some kind of words that I hear on the streets. And we are going to start a new platform where we can be a little bit more edgy and go out there on a limb that would not necessarily be accepted by the broadcast stations. So as I understand it, that's how a lot of these platforms were born.
I am interested in the limitations that were put upon these shows and how they overcame them. and how all of those conservative ideas were slowly chipped away at until we get to where we are today, where nothing is off the table.
As you say, things are fractionalized. And if someone wants something more conservative, or if they want a religious program, like even on Retro TV, they have the Family Channel, which is a different kind of family channel, but they're gospel singers there, and the Franklin Graham has shows, and so people can go to that as much as they can go to X-rated kinds of shows or R-rated kinds of shows. But there was a changing, and even in Family Affair. So we started in 1966, and we were finishing up in 1971. But the producer, John Feddersen, did not want to finish up in 1971. But CBS was changing over to, we need more realistic kinds of programming, not fantasy families. And even though this was heart-rendering and touched all the emotions and was a comedy, we really want something that's more hard-edged. So they traded Family Affair for All in the Family. Now, at the same time, John Feddersen said, no, this is a classic show. This has always received fabulous reviews, always in the top 10 until the last year when it started to fade a little and still went just down to like the teens. And so he went to ABC and said, look, we're going to leave CBS, and CBS is leaving us. How about this show? And they were just about to sign on the dotted line when guess what came into being and had presented to them? The Brady Bunch. That not only had 3 kids, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. And they had a little girl that looked surprisingly like Anissa Jones with 2 blonde ponytails, and she even had a little doll. Now, you have to look that Anissa at this time was getting to be 14 years old and was still carrying around a little doll and wearing short skirts. And here was a fresh new family with a little girl and two different parents coming together with their kids. So anyway, I know, John, I was telling you before, Kathy goes into the backstory, but the bottom line is that they changed it from, they went along and changed it. And so Family Affair went off into the netherworld.
Now I wonder, because you are right, as you said, the actors in your show Family Affair were getting older. So I suppose that it would make sense, of course, to need a new show where children are smaller again, because people do grow up. But I did not see the parallels between the Brady Bunch and Family Affair the way that you describe it. I've never caught that before.
Oh, yes. Look at the picture of the little Susan Olsen. And she admits it, that they tried to emulate Buffy because Buffy was such a popular character. And the doll, and everybody loved the doll, Mrs. Beasley. And even though her little doll was not named that, and she was ditched after a couple of episodes. But even like on My 3 Sons, Tim Considine left that show, and he wanted to be a director, and the powers that be didn't necessarily want him to be a director. And he was getting older, and then he didn't want to do it. So they got Stanley Livingston's little brother, Barry, to be the younger child, so it could still be My 3 Sons. But here they had a youngster on, and they would have done that with Family Affair.
This is when we start talking about how the executives and how the networks saw things and worked, because ultimately they are corporations. Even the shows are corporations.
And it was even more of a corporation because, like Paramount, they were owned by private businessmen and entrepreneurs, et cetera, and they had their entertainment corporations. But when Sony bought Paramount, well, there was a business corporation getting into more of a creative situation and creative corporation. So I think that's when the big business really came in and started putting their methodologies and how they were going to present a show and how they were going to get the most money from the distribution, et cetera.
Let's talk about you. I know that we have.
Oh, well, should we talk about me?
Let's talk about you a little bit. You mentioned Family Fair, but we should probably mention that you did play the character of Sissy Davis, correct?
Yes, Catherine Patterson Davis.
Got it. And very popular character. I remember the show. You mentioned Mrs. Beasley earlier. I know that my little sister, had a Mrs. Beasley doll when we were children. And my sister, her name is Lori, and she has bad eyesight from birth. And she did not like to wear her glasses as a little girl. So she would put her glasses on the Mrs. Beasley doll and then hide the Mrs. Beasley doll. So no one could find the doll. But when we did, that's where we'd find her glasses.
I love that story. You know that they are still making Mrs. Beasley.
Wow.
And I have a show out there called Aunt Sissy. So we are in the midst of planning a spinoff from Family Affair to be called Aunt Sissy. So I guess a good classic thing never dies. It just kind of always stays in the memory and brings back memories.
If we could talk about that real briefly. Now, is there anyone else associated with the original show involved with this new program?
The grandson of Ed Hartman, who was one of the creators, Ed Hartman and Don Feddersen, is very instrumental in taking this to Warner Brothers, who have the rights to it. And we have actually 2 or 3 different variants of the show before them. So we'll see what direction that they're going to go in. But as you know, with all these 940 stations, we need content, and so there have been so many reboots lately. Some do well, some do not. I don't think that the reboots of the entire show and then changing this and that do as well as the ones that have some of the original characters in it. And you get to see how they develop, because that's what you're selling besides the brand. People want to know what happened to their friends, that they would come home from school when they were little and watch what happened to them.
I think we're in agreement on that. I would certainly be interested in this show, as I would reboots of a lot of shows, if it took the tack that you suggest, bringing back originals to see how they are doing as older people instead of just rebooting, which is almost always a drag as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I said, well, that's not what I remembered. I don't remember that character. Well, that character wouldn't do that. Well, that character doesn't look like that character even. So that's being constantly like judged before you even get a chance to show what the story is. So
it's just not the show. It's someone else's interpretation of the show, because there's not a direct link from the original show.
Right.
But the way you're doing it, playing a modernized version of the same character, I think it's brilliant. And I wish you all the luck on that.
Well, thank you. I hope the audience thinks it's brilliant too. I'm looking forward to reaching a lot of the audience out there, because those are our friends and family and fans. I have to say, besides the 55th anniversary of Family Fair, it is the 65th anniversary of the Ten Commandments, which was one of my first movies, and which is definitely a classic.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about the Charlton Heston one that's shown every Easter.
Which I love, and I've loved that movie since I was very young. In fact, a few years ago, I saw it on the big screen. They had a revival in Chicago, and I got to see it on the big screen, which is something I had never thought I'd get to do, and it looked awesome.
Isn't it wonderful? I mean, the sounds that they put into it, and then the colorization that just made it more vibrant. Yes. Because I just watched it this year, and I thought, even on the small screen, which all of our TV screens seem to be getting larger.
Right.
I thought, oh my gosh, that just looks great.
Right.
So technology, when it's directed in the right way, can really add to a society.
Sure.
Otherwise, it can't.
So I do have some questions for you.
More about me.
Yes, about you.
Lots of anniversaries. It's my 40th anniversary next week of my wedding anniversary.
You got all kinds of stuff going on.
It's a very celebratory year. I have 3 books coming out. One is the paperback version, paperback writer, of the hard copy of my memoir, which is Surviving Sissy,
Yes.
A Family Affair of Life in Hollywood. That was my second book. My first book was the Family Affair Cookbook, and my fourth book was Holiday Recipes for a Family Affair. So very much into cooking, you think. And I even have a little YouTube show on called Cooking with Scott and Friends. And we videotape our recipes that are in our book, Holiday Recipes. My two other books that are coming out new this year are the TV Dinners, TV. And so that goes along with a show that we're developing. But we have the book that's coming out for it. And then to celebrate the anniversary of Family Affair is Family Affair Scrapbook. So it's Family Affair, a pictorial scrapbook history of a family affair. So that's what I've been doing during COVID.
You sound very busy.
Books.
You sound very busy. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of people had nothing to do, but people like us who strive to be creative at all times. It was a great opportunity to have a little extra time to pour into our passions.
People, I think, have been very industrious. Mine went to kind of all those things.
Hey,
And then
I built a deck.
Yes, you built a deck. You see that? Is it finished?
It is finished. Absolutely.
Well, good for you. That's very good. And our audience may not know that John and I have worked on projects before. We've done movies together. I think our first one was Dr. Spine. Wasn't that John?
Yes, Dr. Spine. But there are some questions I had to ask.
Dark County. Dark County's on
web
YouTube.
Series, yes. But that's enough about me. I don't like talking about me, Kathy. I don't know if you...
Oh, come on, John. John is a wonderful, creative person that can do many things besides write, direct, produce, put those all together, teach. He is a fabulous, wonderful personality and has created a lot of wonderful projects. We're working on another one, Run Through, which is a great script. And we're trying to get that together. John is in Chicago. I am sequestered in Bell Canyon in California. But we've been working, and I have been getting out. Another movie I did during half in COVID was Old Man Jackson, and with Butch Patrick. And he, of course, who was he? Eddie Munster in
The Munsters.
John's audience, The Munsters, right.
I have a couple questions that I'm really curious about. One is, how do you feel about working on a short-term project like a film versus a long-term project like a series? I mean, what are the differences between the two, the advantages, disadvantages, likes, and dislikes?
I personally like working on a series, and what actor doesn't like having a steady job? That is always a good thing. And you don't have to worry about what your next project is going to be. I'm a very fast person. I'm quick. And so I like things to be done very fast. I will always remember when I did episodes on the Patty Duke show. And she was just like in and out. Okay, let's go to this. Let's go to that. Sometimes when you get on a movie, it will drag and drag. Unless you're doing a John Norton boomstick film. then you're kind of are going along like a series. But some of these movies just take forever with the lighting and the camera and this shot. Hell no, let's do that shot. Well, maybe we'll shoot it up there. No, I think it will be better from the ground. Look, it drives me crazy. Although now that I have cell phones and everything, I can occupy myself and getting something done.
Sure.
But I really prefer doing a series. And you will see a lot of movie stars, quote unquote now, doing different platforms, series on platforms, Jane Fonda and all kinds of people. Al Pacino is doing a show, The Hunters. And so they are going to places where there's a larger platform.
Absolutely.
And even though they, and for a long time, you just saw that movie in a movie theater. before they started, distributing it through television and all of that. But you can build an audience better if they look forward to seeing you each week. So on many levels, I enjoy doing a series more.
I know that I am constantly looking for work because I prefer freelance myself. So there is a certain unknown quality about trying to make a living. I mean, let's face it.
Absolutely.
Being on a series, I imagine that, you make strong bonds with not only the audience, but with your castmates and your crew. And it does seem like I've never worked on a long form series like that, but I would certainly be open to it for those reasons.
Oh, sure. And, people overlook even the name, show business. Hello, this is a business.
Correct.
And actors and producers, writers, or whatever, as they go from project to project to project. So there has to be some way that you arrange your financial being so you're able to pay your rent or your mortgage interest, utilities, food, all those things that are required to live. And there are formulas for doing that, and especially because you don't have a steady income every month. Some months, oh, wow, I did 6 jobs. Next 2 months, you don't do anything. So you can't spend all you make in that 1 month thinking you're going to get that every month. You have to, portion it out over a year or longer. So anyway, that is my financial advice to all the creatives.
Yes, and it doesn't matter what level you're actually working on. I think that holds true unless you are at the absolute upper echelon where you don't have to worry about money as much. But for the 98% of the rest of us, it's the same if you're working in Hollywood or if you're working in Chicago or you're working in Atlanta. You're always looking for that next job. I have another question about you. You do a lot of voice work. And now I have known some actors who will tell me that they much prefer to do voice work. How do you feel about doing a majority of voice work versus on camera?
To me, voiceovers are so easy and they're done so quickly. And I much prefer acting to voice work, even though I have done like 5 animated series and I created the voice of Firestar in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. I was Pepper and I can do all kinds of different voices, and I even taught voiceover for 20 years about how to do different voices and sexy voices and just regular, real type voices. Or I have done like over 60 audiobooks. I like to do audiobooks because that grabs my attention and it's longer. But, to me, it is just not as satisfying to do a 60-second commercial and talking like a prune than actually being a dried up grandma with your image of being a prune and the voice that might go with it and the emotion that might come into it, and for a longer time. So anyway.
Well, you mentioned voice audiobooks, which I've been listening to audiobooks for 25 years. It's, I mean, it's just one of my absolute joys in life are good audiobooks. And I'm fascinated by that. And I have tried to narrate things that I have written, and it was much harder than I thought to be in the moment and to act and perform for an entire novel. Now, how difficult is that?
You have to learn how to do it. I taught how to narrate audiobooks for 20 years, as well as recording them and winning 4 audio awards.
Nice.
Pat myself on the back. But lots of people think that they can just pick up a book and read the book out loud and that they're narrating a book, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
And I really emphasize to my students, you have to develop your set of skills and know what you're doing. Understand the different genres of audiobooks there are. There's fiction, nonfiction, children's, tweens, and what the fiction books require, which is perhaps for you to change your voice for 100 different characters and have them sound different from each other and not have them sound put on. Or like a man who says, oh, I'm going to do a woman's voice. Here's my woman's voice. Well, that is just some bogus high, raising your voice high. Whereas you can still do a woman, if you're a guy, with a different emphasis. So perhaps she speaks a little softer. And if you're a woman, you could rasp his voice up and make him, a little tougher. And so those are different increments about how you distinguish the characters as you're hearing them. Since you're not seeing the word and you're not seeing the visual, you have to be convincing with just your voice as to who is speaking. And it's the same way that you would analyze the script as who you are and who's your audience and where's the setting of the book. And you're going to speak differently for a Western and then maybe for a mystery or maybe for a romance. And so there are just a ton of different skills that you have to develop to enjoy narrating the book and having your audience enjoy it as well.
How long does it take you to narrate an average size novel?
Well, I am really fast. I am very good. I hate to say that, but I'm saying the truth. And I can do a book, a 200-page book, like in 2.5 days.
Okay.
Now that doesn't include then all the editing. I edit as I go along, and then at the end, then you edit it further, and then you do quality control, and then you put in the copyrights and all of that, and then it has to be transferred to an equitable type that will go on to Audible or however you're going to market your book.
Sure.
So it's all told that could be a month for a book to come out, but the actual recording is, would take probably a week.
In a recording session, ideally, how long would you be comfortable doing it in one session?
So you do like maybe 50 minutes. Then you get up, you have water, you go do whatever you want to do. You walk around, you stretch, go outside, come back and play what you have left off, usually preferable to leave off at a chapter.
Sure. And
so then now chapter 4, well, John and Kathy were having a wonderful conversation about audiobooks, blah, blah, blah. So you want to get that same tonality and so it's consistent. And also, speaking of consistency, the characters have to be consistent.
Yes.
Because perhaps somebody introduces a character in the first chapter and they don't reappear until chapter 40. Well, you have to have the same voice, tonality, placement that you originated for that first voice to be the same at the end. It's fun to do, and they used to take all Broadway actors, and they were very good for doing the audiobooks. They've come to a more relaxed kind of reads, and people are kind of used to that because the style of acting, I think, has changed a lot into
Sure.
much more. I can't even hear any of these things. My husband and I are always turning up the volume to 44, 45 to hear because they mumble and they're just talking like this. And that's supposed to be reality. Well, people don't even talk like that in real life. But
Yes.
I think they have been over-taught that, you have to, you're talking into the mic and you're talking for the camera. No, you're talking for reality, in my estimation.
Sure.
But what do I know? I've only been in the business 65 years.
Well, in that 65 years, throw out just a few of your favorite roles that you've had.
My favorite role was in high school when I played the miracle worker in The Miracle Worker.
Oh, wow.
And there's Helen Keller. And what was just so moving to me was that there was a book that came out last year called In the Presence of Greatness. And it was Bill Jankowski's interviews with and mostly about Patty Duke. So then he tapped me to do the audiobook of it, which just came out this year. And when I was doing and recording the book, I had such a sense that I was doing it with Pat. First of all, I knew her. I was in her show, the Patty Duke Show, I knew her later in life when I was doing a backstage with Barry and Kathy show where I would interview people. And she always remained my friend. So it was just the essence of her that I felt that I was able to bring forth. And then she, of course, talked about her Academy Award and Helen Keller and having met Helen Keller. So really, the one closest to my heart was playing Helen Keller on the stage in high school. And I went around, feeling walls and pretending I was blind and running into walls and things like that. And that has always stuck with me.
I had no idea.
I know, and I do the backstory.
No
and I
idea.
Can hear my husband say, Kathy, do the bottom line. Helen Keller, and when I was in high school.
You know what that is kind of, as you were talking about that, you sound so passionate about that time and that role and how it affected you. It almost gave me a Citizen Kane flashback where everything goes back to when he was very young about the sled. There was one thing that, despite everything being accomplished from that point, it all goes back to this very moment when they were young.
Right. And it's amazing. We keep those memories with us. And I think your brain is so fresh and vital when you were young.
Sure.
And again, that is why so many things become classics.
That was my interview with Kathy Garver. I love working with Kathy, and I hope we collaborate many more times in the future. I first saw you on stage opening for, this has been many years ago, opening for Judy Tenuta.
Correct.
And I believe that was in Naperville, Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. Either Naperville or Aurora. Was it Naperville?
I think it was Naperville, yeah.
Yeah, so I always was curious, and I never got a chance to ask. How did do you know Judy? I mean, how did you get that gig?
Yeah, I got it through an agency I was working with at the time.
So that's how it works. Okay. So is it the agency that kind of packages these deals between the opening acts and the headliners?
Yeah, yes, that's precisely correct. What happens is this. The agency will package it, and usually the agency will package the headliner and the feature, and then the host or the MC, same thing, will be a local person. And then once you get to a certain level as a headliner, a lot of us like to bring our own feature because it's somebody that we know, we trust, we've worked with. It's not tuna surprise when you get to Des Moines on a Wednesday night and your feature's done 6 shows. So that type of thing. But that's the answer, yeah.
How long have you actually been doing stand-up professionally?
Since 2006.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is there any particular thing that made you want to do that? Have you always been interested in it?
Always. Yeah. Always. I mean, my brother, Chip, is a syndicated cartoonist. And I can remember so far back of occasionally staying up really late with my dad. And he and I and Chip, would watch George Carlin on The Tonight Show, even people like Alan King on The Tonight Show. I mean, this was a big thing. And I just always loved these guys. I couldn't believe how funny they were and how cool they were. And, I mean, it was just one of those things where the first time I saw it, I said, that's what I want to do.
Are those still some of your favorites?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Carlin, I think, it's always tricky business getting into the top 3, but I think George Carlin and Richard Pryor, and then I think as a tribute to, in my view, the guy that really broke the mold, Lenny Bruce. I don't see how you cannot thank Lenny Bruce for what he did. I mean,
sure.
To me, that was the breakthrough there, where a guy just went up there, and there were no real punchlines. I'm just going to talk about my life and what I think and what I feel, and so those are my three.
So Lenny Bruce was a pretty controversial figure.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and it seems like now we have an interesting dynamic between audiences and comics. Everyone seems to think that the modern audiences can't handle or are triggered or are offended so much by comedic material. How does one go about navigating that? Have you ever run into that? And how do you navigate a landmine field like that?
Right. Thankfully, it hasn't, having done over 1,000 professional shows, it's only happened to me a couple times. And I think the answer to your question is that, and I think most comics would agree with me on this, I'm going to do my set. And if there's part of my set that you can't handle to the point where, you want to get vocal about it and object about it, whatever your reaction is, I'll handle it. So I just can't go out and perform in a world where I'm going to say, oh God, I'm going to talk about growing up Catholic, and there's going to be a guy there who's going to get offended by that, so I won't do that bit. I just don't think you can do that. I think you have to say, I'm going to do my material. It's raw. It's authentic. It's entertaining. And if you get triggered, well, then maybe you should come and sit in the first row so you really get triggered.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it's come on so hard and so fast these last few years. It really makes your head spin.
Right.
I love stand-up comedy. I mean, I always have. I think it's one of the purest forms of entertainment and communication with an audience, but it just seems like there is something pervasive in our society now that it just seems like no one can take something for what it is or what it should be, and everyone seems to be wanting to make a stand about every little thing that they find offensive. And in my opinion, a stand-up comic needs to be slightly offensive. If he's not offending somebody, I don't think they're doing it right.
Right. I think that one of the most enduring and unique American traits is our sense of humor. And my dad was a highly decorated World War II combat veteran. And I once asked him, how did you get through that? And he said, well, we kept our sense of humor. That was number one.
Right.
And, so I think it's an enduring, crucial trait of being an American. And we can't lose that. If I'm going to tell a joke, there is going to be a punchline. And at the end of the punchline, there's going to be a punch word. Someone is going to be made fun of in that joke. And if you can't handle that, then you should go to the drama club, not the comedy club, because this is a comedy club, not a drama club.
A stand-up comic had said on a talk show that they need to adapt to the audiences of today. And I think the meaning was to be more sensitive to people's viewpoints. And I remember seeing that, and I'm thinking, I don't think that's a comic's job. I think it might be the opposite of that.
Right. Yeah, my job, right. I've got, I got 4 shows. Okay. Mm-hmm. I got 1 on Thursday night, 1 on Friday night, 2 on Saturday night. My job as the closer, as the headliner, is to kill. If I don't kill, I don't do my job. And so the only way I'm going to kill is by doing my beautifully written, well-rehearsed, 1,000-time performed set to take the audience from a standstill up to 39,000 feet, barely legal, and keep them there for 53 minutes. So I'm going to do my set. If you can't handle my set, well, you should go to Serious Night because tonight's comedy night. Tomorrow night is Serious Night, but tonight's comedy night.
Interesting. Tell me this. I'm just assuming that you do write all of your own material. And if you do, I mean, do you have...
Every word of it. Yeah, every word of it.
How about the inspiration for that material? Do you get that from just out of the ether or your personal experience, or how does that happen for you?
I think so. Yeah, I am maniacal about crafting my set. And I am a classic stand-up comedian. Premise, punchline, 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 act out. Premise, punchline, 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 act out. And it's all original content. And I think the inspiration, I think part of it is in my DNA. Are people born funny? Yeah, I think they are. But it's still a skill set that takes a long time to get really good at. My inspiration just comes from daily life, standing in line at the Dairy Queen on Marco Island in Florida. And there's a lady there with about 37 kids. And over the counter in big red letters, there's a sign that says Dairy Queen. We're in the Dairy Queen, John. She steps up to the counter and says to the kid working there, "What do you have that's non-dairy?" Like, lady, look at the sign. Look at the sign. So, inspiration is everywhere, for sure.
I don't know if you know this. You probably don't because, we've never talked about this. I've done some stand-up when I was young, college age.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and I stopped because it's the same reason I stopped performing in theater is that I have a fairly bad memory and I have a hard time remembering material. So
right.
I assume repetition is your friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Repetition is a strong ally. And also I was told by somebody a long time ago that if you write, I type a lot on my tablet and so forth, but I write everything out longhand too, because I was told that when you write something in longhand or print, there's a connection between a more direct connection between that and storing it in your brain than just typing it. It works for me, but when you're doing your set, there's no room for whatever you got to go for in your brain that's not there. It's got to be right there. And the only way to do that is to repeat it.
I want to talk to you a second about style, because this is something that's always interested me. Most performers have a style that they kind of cultivate on purpose. I assume that some people just naturally fall into something. But I know that I have seen some comedians that definitely have a style that it looks like they have worked on as far as delivery and stage presence and that kind of thing. Either it's laid back or it's energetic. Or have you ever worked on a particular presentation, or do you just feel it yourself and just go out there raw and just do it?
Yeah, I'm more of the native raw. Just give me to the stage, and once I get up there, it'll all start to happen. And honestly, I don't know where that comes from, but I didn't sit down in 2006 and say, okay, I'm going to be edgy, I'm going to be fast, rather than cerebral and something else. I didn't concoct 3 adjectives to build my style around. It just happened and evolved. So what I am very happy about is that I do have a lot of energy. I am edgy as hell, and I go fast. And within that sort of raw, that's the raw part of it. But when you really listen to my set, okay, it's very structured in terms of premise, punchline, 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 act out. That's the structure. And if you're paying attention, you're going to catch on to it right away.
Here in Chicago, of course, we have Second City, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of improv as well. And I've always been a big fan of improv.
Right.
It seems like a lot of, from what you're telling me, the way that you do it, it's kind of a highly technical style where you have to put together a piece, almost like writing a piece of short fiction has to be highly technical and correct in order to get the right effect. Is that fair?
I totally concur with that. For me, absolutely. Because think about this for a second. And this is what Jerry Seinfeld said. And I think he knows a little bit about the topic.
Sure.
Jerry Seinfeld says, when you do stand-up, you are judged every 14 seconds, right? So, okay, let's think that through for a second. That means if I am writing comedy, and again, John, I got to get back to my premise. If I don't kill, I haven't done my job, right? How do I kill? Well, I have to take a crowd from a standstill or slightly warmed up, and I've got to take them to 39,000 feet, barely legal, and I got to keep them there for 53 minutes, right? What is the propellant that I use to do that? It's punchline. So I've got to have 3 punchlines every minute. So when I'm watching a guy work, okay, and this is just me. This is just what worked for Ziggy, right? I'm watching a guy work, and he doesn't have a punchline at least every 30 seconds. I God love him. I don't know how he's going to keep an audience elevated for 54 minutes. It's really hard. So I think there is a structure to it. And of course, then if you take that really to its highest form, when you really know you're at the penultimate form of it, is with if you're doing it with a structure, but it doesn't seem like it's a structure, right? That's when you know you're really in the pure air when you get there.
That's I guess that's the craft of it.
That is.
Yep. I'm going to circle back to something we talked about earlier, because this has always kind of fascinated me. It's the business side of things. I assume that most comics who are professional, do shows on the road, they must have representation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There might be a few people out there trying to go on their own, but that probably is a very difficult road to travel, I'm sure.
It's impossible. Yeah. I don't see how you can do it.
So if someone's trying to get into the business, I mean,
don't do it, John.
Don't
do that to anybody.
Forget it. Never mind, guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
But as far as the business side of things, what do they need to know? What do they need to prepare themselves for a future of trying to be on the road doing comedy?
Right. Well, first of all, I would say don't do it. And second of all, I would say if you have a burning, if you have a burning, and I hate the word, the 2 most overused words in our culture today are passion and synergy. And I'm very passionate about having no synergy in my life. But I would say, okay, number one, take a class. There's a million classes out there. And the sequence of your growth as a stand-up should be, you want a 7-minute set. That's your goal. Say, how do I do this? Go to a class and practice and get a 7-minute set, and then just start going to as many open mics as you can get your ass to. And somebody will see you, and you'll get offered a hosting position somewhere, and then you're off to the races.
Would someone incorporate? Would they be a business entity?
No, not. You don't need to have an LLC.
Okay, so they don't need to go that far to make it.
Yeah, you're going to need an LLC in about year 10. That's when you're going to need that.
Gotcha. Okay, so when you get to a certain level, you start thinking about those kind of things.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Great.
One of the things that I've seen is that I've run into this a little bit, where I will offer someone to host one of my gigs, to MC, and they'll turn it down. Never turn down. Get as much hosting work as you can, because nobody wants to do it. And so there's a shortage of them. And when you are a good MC, you will get so much work, you won't know what to do with it. Because most comics don't know how to do it. It's an incredible skill set. MC as many gigs as you can.
Oh, that's more good advice. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. So I'm curious about the name, two names. First, right. Ziggy, where did it come from?
Yeah.
And second, 47 Chairs, which is the name of your current show. And where does that come from?
My dad had a very quirky sense of humor. And he was a man of few words. My father raised me with 21 words. My father said 21 words to me my entire life. Get a job. Close the door. Call your mother. Go to mass. Are you drunk? Are you lying? Is she pregnant? That was it. I saw a mother in Florida giving choices to a 4-year-old. My choices with my father were obey or get hurt. The man did not fuck around. Yes, I respected the police job, but I was afraid of my dad. In any event, for some reason, my dad's nickname for me was Ziggy. I don't know where it came from. And he started calling me that. And by the way, Clett is my mother's maiden name. My mother was a German Jew. Okay. And so that name is a tribute to my parents. They were wonderful people. My parents had 6 kids, and they saved money when they were living on Social Security. That's my mom and dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Great people. 47 Chairs. When I was in 4th grade, I caught my friend cheating at tetherball. Do you remember tetherball?
Sure do.
It was one way that Catholic schools used to kind of thin the crowd out a little bit. Cull the herd, if you will. I caught my friend cheating. I called him a lot of really horrible names, profanity, very bad names. And Sister Brenda overheard me. Again, you picture it just for a second.
Sure.
I was swearing in front of a woman who wore a gold wedding ring symbolizing her marriage to Christ. I'm going to hell. She heard me. I'm going to hell. And she made me write down all the words I said. I couldn't do it. I refused to do it. And she said, I'm going to tell you something. This was in 4th grade. She said, there are 40, and I want you to remember this the rest of your life. There's 47 chairs in heaven. And if you keep this up, you're not going to make it. That was a long time ago, and it's been in my brain ever since. So that's where 47 chairs came from.
I didn't realize it was going to be so heavy.
It's a heavy trip, John. Look, are you kidding me? Jewish rage with Catholic guilt? You think anybody gets out of this lightly?
That is funny. You know what I'm really looking forward to is we've been talking. I mean, we're talking about doing a project together.
Right.
Kind of top secret at this moment, but I'm telling you, I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
You're a very talented person. I loved your set. I've watched plenty of the clips that you have online on your website. I'm going to put all the information about your website in the show notes, but I think it's just ziggyklett.com if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And that has dates and times and locations for your sets, right?
Correct.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Ziggy, I've had a great time talking to you about this. Like I said, stand-up comedy has always been something I've been extremely interested in. I love comics. I just wish that they weren't having such a hard time these days.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. And I also am looking forward so much to what we're going to be doing together.
Ziggy, I know you're a busy guy. You know, it's hard enough putting these shows together and then hitting the road. I just can't imagine, how difficult it must be doing the travel thing all the time, but it's got to be extremely fun and exciting as well. Well, Ziggy, I really appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You got a lot of stuff, but I'm definitely going to keep up with the career because I enjoy your material. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you and working with you in the future.
John, thank you for those kind words. And right back at you, congratulations on your fantastic success. And I'm looking forward to the movie we're going to work on together.
Great. Thank you, Ziggy.
Thanks, John.